Israel is determined to put all hospitals in the north of the Gaza Strip, where at least 50% of Gaza's population lives, out of service. They have said that there are covert military bases under these hospitals. So far, they have come up with no evidence of that. They're basically putting forward a bunch of different propaganda ploys to keep their own base in line, to make sure that at least the true believers, the friends of Israel, are still convinced. But they're not convincing anyone outside that narrowing sphere of pro-Israel support within the West. And the real reason they need to put these hospitals out of commission is the same reason they're targeting bakeries across the north. It's because they need to eliminate the centers of life so they can carry out ethnic cleansing, move everyone to the south, then start pushing them into Egypt. And they're very open about this. We'll talk about that later. So first, the hospital, Al-Rantisi Hospital, was targeted, and the Israeli military justified that the same way they're justifying Shifa, that, you know, it was a Hamas terror base. Al-Rantisi Hospital is the only pediatric oncology ward in Gaza, so the only place where children can get cancer treatment, and it's been put out of commission with absurd propaganda like this Borat-level sketch from, what is this, Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Hagari, who's one of the spokesmen.
In this room, there is a list. This list, in Arabic, this list says, we are in an operation. The operation against Israel started in the 7th of October. This is a Guardian list where every terrorist writes his name and every terrorist has his own shift guarding the people that were here.
So, Aaron, you know what that list was.
Yes, this was the infamous days of the week. This was a calendar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the list of the terrorist names were actually Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Maybe those were code names. and then the operation begins on October 7th because that's when all the casualties started flowing into the hospitals. I mean, things were normal before then. Anyway, they've just moved on from Al-Rantisi Hospital after that disaster. Oh, and he was pointing to curtains that were inside the room as proof that, hostages were being lined up there to deliver video testimony. Yeah, I think he was pointing from left to right, which was funny because Arabic and Hebrew go from right to left, as someone just pointed out. Then he pointed to a toilet in the room as proof that it was, a secret hostage center, because no one else goes to the bathroom except for hostages. Al-Rantisi Hospital had been bombed many times. There were many casualties as Israel moved in there to take it over. And then they moved on to Al-Shifa Hospital. And here's part of the presentation there. This is in the MRI room.
Grab bag, grab and go of a Hamas combatant behind the MRI machine. I'll show you what our troops exposed just minutes ago. In military terms, this is a grab bag, grab and go of a Hamas combatant. And if you zoom in and we get some light over here, what you will be able to see is military equipment. There is an AK-47. There are cartridges, ammo. There are grenades in here, of course, uniform, and all of this was hidden very conveniently, secretly behind the MRI machine.
Interesting. Grab and go. He keeps saying grab and go. What does MRI stand for? Just pop quiz.
Something magnetic
resonance imagery. Yeah. Magnetic. So it would probably be a bad idea to bring metal near an MRI machine. I don't know. Have you ever taken an MRI?
Yes, a long time ago.
Okay, well, they told you, because you usually, like, I have rules for like dress code at Grayzone, but you usually wear a lot of metal and gold chains, a lot of ice. Like you're so iced out. Normally you get freezer burn.
That's true. That's true.
Okay, when you go into an MRI room, they make you take all that off. You're not allowed to go into it with metal because it will disrupt the machine severely.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy is just mocking us. I mean, he's just you can't even wear clothes with metal on it. His Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus, the spokesman, Borat clown, is just insulting our intelligence here. I mean, it is just absurd that and as a Jew, I welcome the stereotype of superior Jewish intelligence, and the Zionists are just destroying this stereotype right before our eyes. I mean, they are making, I mean, as long as they're operating under the flag of the so-called Jewish state, they're making us look pretty stupid, because this is just basic. But there's more to it here. There's more to it. This is clear evidence that we see. Just look at this image, because there's only one gun in there and there's some clips. This is clear evidence. This is clear proof that the Israeli army engaged in evidence tampering inside Shifa Hospital. And let me explain. Let me pull up something that I tweeted at the Fox News reporter, Trey Yingst, who's one of the biggest stenographers covering this conflict. Well, I can't actually show you because Trey Yingst has blocked me after I exposed him. But I'll quote from the CNN report that they probably based on my tweet. Okay, so Fox's Trey Yingst was embedded with the Israeli military, and he went in after that presentation by Jonathan Conricus. Conricus gave him and other reporters a tour, and he took them to the MRI machine and showed him the grab-and-go bag. And then Trey Yingst tweeted out, "Here's me finding the weapons." But that grab-and-go bag contained 2 automatic weapons, 2 Kalashnikovs, when previously there had been 1, and more ammo clips than had previously been there. Now, unless a Hamas ghost had somehow slipped in there and added weapons, it was obvious that these weapons were added for effect by the Israeli military. And the tampering was so obvious that CNN, 12 hours after my tweet, after I exposed the Israeli army for planting evidence, published this CNN analysis. This is Blumenthal Grayzone analysis. Video suggests IDF might have rearranged weaponry at Al-Shifa prior to news crew visits. There's the 2. No, those are 3 guns. They added 3. There was only 1 gun in there before. An Israeli Defense Forces video on November 15 showing a tour of Hamas weaponry found at Al-Shifa Hospital shows less weaponry at the scene than in later footage filmed by international news crews, indicating the weapons may have been moved or placed there prior to news crews arriving. CNN compared footage published by the Israeli army online with footage taken by Fox News, suckers, stenographers led by Trey Yingst, who blocked me. And Yingst later visits the scene when it's dark. He says the report's in the middle of the night. So Conricus was there during the day at 1:18 p.m. So Yingst was there at least 5 hours later. He's shown a bag located behind an MRI machine. And there are 2 AK-47s. However, the Israeli army video filmed earlier shows only 1 AK-47. It's unclear why. Okay, well, all the lies flow from there. They were planting the evidence. Then they just laid out a bunch of guns. In one image, the Israeli army lays out, there are less guns there than you can find in the closet of most Republican congressmen. And that is supposed to justify them removing all these babies from their incubators, over 30 babies. Everybody in the ICU apparently died. The hospital courtyard was flooded with dead corpses, according to the medical director. They were being eaten by dogs. People were kidnapped. Journalists were arrested by the Israeli army outside the hospital. Thousands of people who were taking sanctuary there, whose homes had been blown up in the Al Rimal neighborhood by Israeli missiles, had to basically be expelled from their neighborhood, and who knows where they are. All of this based on the Israeli lie that this was some Hamas command and control center. And even if it was, it wouldn't have justified it. This is occupied territory. They don't have the right to fire a single bullet there.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the problem that this whole conversation misses about where the tunnels are, where the Hamas headquarters are. It doesn't matter actually where Hamas has its headquarters or tunnels. That's none of Israel's business. Israel's only business in Gaza is ending its occupation there, which it's controlled since 1967. People want to pretend as if the disengagement in 2005 was somehow an end to the occupation. Yes, Israel removed its fanatical settlers from Gaza in 2005 so it could focus on expanding its fanatical settlers in the occupied West Bank, and also to further prevent calls for a Palestinian state. But Israel still controls everything that goes into Gaza. It controls the food that goes in. So, for example, it can ban chocolates if it wants to, which it has. It counted the calories that it would let Palestinians eat without having a full-blown starvation crisis. So Israel is an occupying power, and occupying powers don't have rights. They only have obligations, and their obligation is to end the occupation.
Yeah. And so the whole discussion is just like twisted. It's like, oh, here's video showing captives being treated at Shifa Hospital on October 7th. That justifies them destroying the entire hospital and removing 40 premature babies from their incubators. That justifies it. By the way, Hamas openly stated that they treated captives at hospitals 2 days before the Israeli military produced that footage. They're not denying it in any way. You know, how did Israel treat wounded captives, wounded Hamas fighters? They executed them on camera. We saw that on October 7th. So I don't know. They have this new argument about finding a tunnel, but they're not allowing reporters into the tunnel for some reason. The Washington Post went with the Israeli military to this so-called tunnel that they've said they found, which looks like a drainage shaft and not a tunnel. If you actually watch the footage of the Israeli military sending a camera down there, it appears to cut at some point when it's dark and then shows a passageway beneath the drainage pipe. But the Washington Post reporter embedded with the Israeli military said that reporters were permitted only a 60-second glimpse into the shaft. They were not really allowed to conduct their own examination. And I wonder why. The pressure is so high on the Israeli military to produce something to justify this atrocity. And so we can look for new, more spectacular lies as they build the case for continuing their genocide and driving their death trains south.